Hello and welcome to another analysis behind the news. Many newsworthy events happened last week, including the House of Representatives repealing and replacing Obamacare, and passing of the $1.1 trillion extension of the federal government's budget through September, much to the delight of Democrats, and Al-Qaeda's claim to be fighting alongside a U.S.-backed coalition in Yemen. However, one news mention that rarely made a blip centers on comments made by U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross about Nafta and TPP, or Trans-Pacific Partnership, during an interview with Bloomberg. According to the Bloomberg article, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said parts of an Asia-Pacific trade deal rejected by the Trump administration could form the basis of a revamped North American Free Trade Agreement. There are some concessions that the Nafta partners made in connection with the proposed TPP, Ross said in an interview Wednesday at the Bloomberg Breakaway Summit in New York, referring to the TPP. There is no reason to throw those away. We would view those as the starting point. And the starting point here is a renegotiation of Nafta. Although as a presidential candidate, Trump stated that the U.S. should not be in Nafta and called it a disaster, he is now advocating for renegotiation instead of withdrawal. Of course, if he's looking at it from a business perspective, then he's probably hoping to move forward to getting a better deal for the U.S. However, if he's not thinking of it in a perspective of building regional government, then no matter the arrangement, the American people may lose, and lose big league. For instance, talk surrounding the trade deal was rather innocuous in 1993 with platitudes of bringing in more jobs, more industry, and more trade that will give American workers large benefits. Of course, the opposite turned out to be true, with industry moving out of the country, decimating our manufacturing base with millions of jobs lost. But others were viewing the agreement to be much more than countries just crafting guidelines for trade. For instance, former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger stressed that Nafta was to be the architecture of a new international system. He said to the LA Times in 1993 that Nafta will represent the most creative step toward a new world order taken by any group of countries since the end of the Cold War, and the first step toward an even larger vision of a free trade zone for the entire Western Hemisphere. And what might this vision be? The New American reported that on November 29, 1993, 9 days after the U.S. Senate passed the NAFTA implementation legislation, which completed the congressional action, National Security Advisor Anthony Lake sent a memo to President Clinton stating, "Hemispheric institutions, including the OAS, which is the Organization of American States, and Inter-American Development Bank, and now the NAFTA institutions, can be forged into the vital mechanisms of hemispheric governance." So, the vision is hemispheric governance. Now, what is that? Just take a look at the European Union and you get your answer. So, through NAFTA, the signatories of the agreement, United States, Canada, and Mexico, are all being driven toward a union that sets up unaccountable regional government, just like that experienced by the United Kingdom, of which they voted to get out of. Initially, another major player in the international scene, the Council on Foreign Relations, drafted a plan to integrate the three countries by 2010, called a North American Community or Union. By 2007, the John Birch Society was cranking out information that exposed these plans. President George W. Bush eventually responded to the opposition by stating, "I'm amused by some of the speculation, some of the old, you can call them political scare tactics. If you've been in politics as long as I have, you get used to that kind of technique where you lay out a conspiracy and then force people to try to prove that it doesn't exist." Well, we're frequently accused of scare tactics or fear-mongering by our opposition after we expose their plans. In fact, the author of the CFR plan credited the JBS for the demise of the NAU. Now, let's keep in mind the idea of merging countries into a union, much like the EU. What do you think it would take to do so? Could the US, Canada, and Mexico comfortably merge? How would you go about doing so? First, you'd probably need to ensure that all systems would be able to be compatible in order to be able to be controlled under a common governing body. So our economic system would need to be similar. Our political system would certainly need to be similar. And one could also place healthcare into this too. For if countries all have a national healthcare system, then merging becomes easier. Or perhaps even a national police force. So you can see how repealing and not replacing Obamacare is so important, and why our local police must be kept independent and not cogs in a national police force. Now, under the Clinton administration, as well as under the George W. Bush administration, and under the Obama administration, internationalists have ruled the roost, pushing their globalist agenda down the throats of the average American and disguising it in terms of free trade. Trump won presidential victory based on an Americanist versus globalist platform. If he's unaware of the global strategy to entangle North America into an EU-type union, then how successful will he be in actually getting a good deal by renegotiating Nafta? Folks, the globalists are not sitting on their hands. They are currently at work probing every part of the administration to see where they can make progress on their agenda. Without seeing the larger picture, Trump may even help Nafta become a stepping stone for a full-blown union. We recommend getting out of Nafta and not renegotiating. When you look at what seems like everyday issues, always place them in the context of how an Americanist would look at them, and then contrast that with how a globalist would look at them. Doing so trains you to see these issues from a sovereignty aspect. No matter the issue, we must always protect our country's independence and our individual liberty. This will also help you to realize what agenda is being followed. Are you working on anything today that may allow globalists to gain traction in their agenda? Think about that the next time you're asked to help on a project that will supposedly help rein in the federal government. And if you're serious about protecting American independence and liberty, then join the John Birch Society today to get started. Visit jbs.org for more information. And be sure to like and share this video with family and friends. Sign up for our e-newsletters and subscribe to our social media channels. Until next time, we'll see you then.